It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Kyle Benedict as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives in Yavapai County. And now here's today's Countywide.
Welcome to Countywide. I'm Kyle Benedict. Today we're talking holiday safety. It's already November. The holiday season is here already. I mean, it was first quickly approaching, and now we're getting ready for Thanksgiving. That falls with Christmas and just the holiday season. So here to talk about holiday safety is Rick Contreras, Fire Marshal with the Cottonwood Fire Department. Thanks again for being here today. It's been a little bit since you've been back, but thanks for coming in.
Hey, great seeing you again. We always enjoy coming and doing a show with you.
Of course, and holiday safety, very, very important. And a lot of people are going to have family over. A lot of stuff is going to be taking place in the kitchen, just in the house, in the backyard. So we want to make sure everybody's safe this season. And first off, you mentioned this is approaching the second fire season, you mentioned, right?
Yeah, that's what we like to refer it to because, we have our wildland season, the wildfires in the summer. I think it's North Carolina. Somebody's really struggling through that now. But, we've had our share of that here. But now we get the cooler temperatures. Today, the weather has really dropped. People are obviously starting their wood stoves, their heaters and those things, those heating appliances. So we get more structure fires this time of year. So we're starting to roll into that right now, and we want to get the word out to, you make sure that you're safe in those aspects, having your appliances tested and those kind of things.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've been pushing that in our newscasts and just the importance of making sure you don't use them for a year. So
yeah.
You turn them on, you want to make sure they're working properly. Let's get right into it. Thanksgiving. Cooking, a lot is going on, a lot of distractions around Thanksgiving. You have tons of people over at the house. When it comes to cooking, what are some of the main things that people just need to make sure we're aware of when we're cooking or in the kitchen during the Thanksgiving?
Well, that's a great place to start. It is the number one day for home fires. You're like 230%. It goes up 230% fires across the country on Thanksgiving Day. That's the number one day. Wow. So we want to make sure we have our appliances ready, our stove and those things. But people struggle through these fires because a lot of times they leave the fire unattended, the oven on and those things. I think we're all guilty of it. We've done it. But yeah, it increases the fires. We get all these other distractions, like you said. That was a great point. And, most people got their ovens on. We got fires going.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about distracted driving. That's a big message right now. But, I mean, you just have and not only just distractions because of the people in your house, but you have how many dishes are going on when you're preparing Thanksgiving.
That's
you
right.
got stuff in the oven. Every burner is being used. So when we're talking about turkeys, a lot of people throw it in the oven. But what about deep frying? That's a really popular thing now with turkeys.
Yeah, the U.S. Fire Administration has some great messages and flyers on their website. And they do talk about, frying. Phoenix Fire does a great job on a video every year. You can usually YouTube these things and watch videos, but you don't want to put wet items, wet turkeys, frozen turkeys into a hot grease. You don't want to have the grease too full in the pot to where it's going to overflow, catch fire. You don't want kids near the area. That's the number one thing. And you don't want it tipping over, creating a fire. So there's a lot of safety messages associated with frying. We get a lot of regular frying fires in the kitchen annually. People fry in their home, but when you're putting something like that in, we get a lot of fires. People will say, "Oh, I've done this for 10 years." Well, the one time that something happens, you have a big fire.
Right.
So it's just something to know what you're doing, make sure everything's working right, and do your research.
Now, you mentioned grease fires. What's the best way to handle a grease fire, whether it's out in your backyard when you're frying your turkey or if it just happens on the stove? What's the best way to handle that?
Well, on the stove, we always recommend if somebody's frying, people were taught throw baking soda or flour on the fire. We don't recommend that at all. Okay. If you know you're going to fry something in a frying pan, you have a tight-fitting lid that's going to fit that frying pan. If the grease gets too hot, you shut the flame off, you cover that out, and you make sure that we don't have any fire kick up. Because if the fire does start on there, that lid will smother the fire, and it'll remove that. Outside, it's a Class K extinguisher. It's more of a foam base, so you could knock out that fire. But if you're going to do this out in your backyard, make sure you clear out your debris. All the pine needles are coming down now. Don't do it near tall weeds. Have a good safe zone away from kids. You're not going to want to squirt water on it. You're going to ask, you're asking for big trouble with that. So don't get hurt. Do your research. If any questions, contact your local fire agency and they could help you out.
Okay. We're talking about fire extinguishers. Any certain type or that you should make sure you have in your home? I mean, I imagine you want everybody to have a fire extinguisher in their kitchen.
Absolutely. You know, the Class Ks work good for the kitchen, but for your home, for general purpose, your truck, your work vehicle, a Class ABC fire extinguisher works great. You can get them at Home Depot, Walmart. You can order them online. They're 5-pounders. They're the red ones typically, and they're a good fire extinguisher to have. We offer fire extinguisher training at the Cottonwood Fire Department, like most agencies do, and we could train you on how to use it. Most people have never used them; they're just a wall ornament.
Right.
You know, everybody sees them, but a lot of people have never actually put hands on, put flame out. Where we light up a pot, we go over a simulation and talk about the different classes of fire, and we show you how to use it.
Now, what's the shelf life on fire extinguishers? I mean, do they expire after a certain period of time?
Well, yes, they do. So they get like hydrostatic tests every 6 years. They get tagged. Commercial businesses, we make sure they're tagged by a professional licensed company, and they can get hydrostatic tested. But after a while, you know, they do have a shelf life, and they need to be replaced. Well, we get some pretty old ones sometimes at our station. People drop them out. They've had them in their house since the 60s or 70s or something. It's kind of funny, but amazingly enough, we've taken them out back and just to see if they work, and they have worked. Some don't, but we don't recommend it. You know, you should have it tagged. You check it monthly, have it tagged, and make sure it's in full operational order. Again, contact your local fire agency, and they can help you out with your home fire extinguisher.
Yeah, I imagine you don't want to chance it just because it hasn't been used in years.
Right.
Now, are they a one-time thing? Once you use it once, you have to get rid of it?
Well, if it's a plastic top, that's correct. Okay. Now, if it has a metal top, they could be recharged by a professional company. We don't recharge them, we don't test them, but we can inspect them to make sure they're in good working order for you.
Okay. So I think one of the things, I mean, with the back kind of going to deep frying your turkey, I mean, we talk about during wildfire season, defensible space and kind of clearing debris and brush and pine needles from your property. I guess the same thing kind of goes if you're going to deep fry a turkey in your backyard, right?
Absolutely.
Just make sure you're free from any combustibles, and also with your ashes as well from your wood stoves.
Absolutely. And we've had fires, same thing. People have dumped their ashes in a certain area, have done it for years, and we've had house fires because they dump them in the garbage can 3 days after they had them sitting out back. And those coals stay on there, and it just takes that one time to get it going.
Yeah. So when you're talking about fires linked to cooking, is it usually a pot or a pan that's left unattended? Does that seem to be the main cause of these fires during cooking? It
is a big problem, and it's one of the number one things. And things left unattended, the phone ring, or some of the kids, or they have to move and get distracted away from the cooking fire. They get unattended. We respond to those calls. In Cottonwood, we have a great fire sprinkler ordinance, so we've had kitchen fires get knocked out by a fire sprinkler before we get there, and other times we get residual fires, so we just knock that out ourselves. But you really have to, don't fall asleep on what you're doing there with home safety. Kitchen fires are the number one source of fires in the house, and don't let that happen to you.
Yeah, and I imagine with the pots and pans up there, just anything up on the stove, make sure your children can't reach it and maybe knock down some of those pots, because then, if it's your kid doing it, might not know what's going on.
Absolutely, and we recommend you putting the handles inward so they're not hanging out, so somebody doesn't bump them, spill hot items onto the children. Children at a minimum 3 foot away from the stove. We try and recommend 5 feet is even better. And you don't want those bad things to happen. Scalding, burns, flames, any of the kids around that. Long hair is another issue. Whether it's the barbecue grill or the kitchen, we don't want anybody with long hair draping their hair over the flame.
Yeah, okay, great. Well, we're going to take our first break. When we come back from break, we're going to talk about Christmas safety and just holiday lights and all that good stuff, what to remember there. For more information, contact your local fire agency with any questions you may have. For the Cottonwood Fire Department, you can contact them at 634-2741, 928-634-2741. This is County-wide. Back in a couple minutes.
This was me. And Mom and Dad. And my big brother Alex. And Jack. And this was the day that I learned that sandals get their name from sand. That jellyfish aren't made of jelly. That stars don't just come from the sky. That the ocean is bigger than all of us. This is the day we all got to forget that I was sick. And it changed everything. This was my wish.
I dare you. I dare you to change the world. Yeah, you. Getting that college education.
I dare you to be somebody important.
Like be a teacher. Or a reality TV star.
I dare you to stand up here.
To call the shots.
To be a role model.
An inspiration.
An innovator.
To be a teacher.
Think you can change my life?
Make me excited about science like you.
Have a career that really means something?
Then do it.
I dare you.
Welcome back to Countywide. Before we went to break, Cottonwood Fire Marshal Rick Contreras was talking about just cooking safety and just being careful in the kitchen during Thanksgiving, and when you have all the people in there, grease fires, make sure you're extremely careful deep frying your turkey and it's out in your backyard away from any combustible material. Fire extinguishers is always a good idea. Now we're going to move on to Christmas lights, Christmas trees, kind of all that good stuff. Let's start with Christmas lights. Everyone's starting to put those up, especially seems like right around Thanksgiving, you see lights going up all over the place. What are some of the main safety concerns with Christmas lights?
Well, we always recommend you follow the manufacturer's recommendations on the amount you can plug in together. You know, you don't want to be like Chevy Chase in Christmas Vacation and plugging in 50 sets of lights together, you know, classic movie.
Right.
You know, but keep it in the reality. You know, I think some of them recommend only 3 strands together, but you want to make sure and follow whatever their recommendations are. You want to make sure that they're not frayed wires. You know, if you got an old set of Christmas lights that you've had forever and you're just going to string one more year out of them, get rid of them. Go buy a new set. You know, some again, like Walmart, Home Depot, or online, you know, you can get them pretty cheap. Mm-hmm. And so make sure, you know, you're not doing something kind of dumb. We've gone on structure fires before where someone's always tripping the breaker and it's always done it and they just go and flip it back and next thing you know, they have a structure fire. So when it comes to Christmas lights or extension cords, make sure they're in good working order. The design, use them the way they're meant to be used and the way they're designed.
Mm-hmm. Now, what about keeping those on all night?
Yeah, you know, a lot of people do that. And I don't know if there's any more cause of fire from that. However, the number one causes of electrical fires in the home is typically between midnight and 6 a.m. It's when the most loss for structure fires in residential homes. So that might factor in it, not just Christmas lights, but overall electrical safety. You know, we're all asleep and those things happen. That's why we strongly recommend you have your working smoke detectors in your home that you've tested once a month and replace the batteries once a year.
Okay, and I imagine there's different types of Christmas lights and bulbs and things that might run cooler and maybe don't get as hot as some of the old school lights, as you mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, that's a great point. And, you know, and then some nights it rains and you got all these things plugged in. Circuits and, you know, so be smart about it, you know, electrical safety.
Okay, perfect. And if you don't want to keep those on all night, I know a lot of people use timers, and so that way you maybe don't have to think about it quite as much turning those off.
That's right.
Another big concern, Christmas trees. A lot of people seem to be going to the fake Christmas trees, but you still have a lot of people who love that natural smell and going out and getting the tree. A lot of issues that can come with live Christmas trees, right?
Absolutely. You know, and I'm a guy, I grew up with live Christmas trees in our home, and for a lot of years I did too. I like the smell and everything. Right. But it's, and I don't want to hurt the Christmas tree industry. However, you know, with my job, we get to see those kind of things, and it's scary. It absolutely is scary. The artificial trees are typically fire resistive. They won't go up in flames quite as easy as the Christmas trees. So if you're going to use a natural tree, make sure it's, it's like your dog. Make sure he has water. Give it. Make sure it's fully, the dish is full of water. Keep an eye on that tree. Don't buy it maybe too early. You don't want any loose needles coming off that. If you shake that tree or bump it, needles falling off, it's time for that tree to go. Within 30 seconds, if you're asleep and that tree goes up, it's going to be hard for you to even get out. You're going to have a fully engulfed living room. Your couch. We were talking at break about all the synthetics that the modern furniture is made out of, and fires nowadays go up so much faster, and it's hard to get out of your home. There's NFPA, it's National Fire Protection Association, states it's $17.5 million in direct property damage every year because of Christmas tree fires.
Wow.
So that's a lot of money, and that's what is reported. There's probably other cases that don't get reported and go to the national statistics, but
wow.
We don't want to see that happen here in town or anywhere else, in Arizona. So be safe. Always check your stuff. Again, don't put frayed Christmas lights on a natural tree. Don't create your own problem.
Right, yeah, and that's a whole nother thing. I mean, with the Christmas trees, you want to just the same caution with your outside Christmas lights. When you put lights on your trees, you want to make sure that, of course, those are all in good working order too. And I think the biggest thing you mentioned, water. And that was a great example of, you always keep water, make sure your dog has water.
Yeah.
Do the same with your Christmas tree, and then get rid of it once it starts looking like it's dying.
Yeah.
Just get rid of it, and then get one of those candles that have the pine needles scent for it, and then you can still have that,
no
that
flame.
scent in your house and no flame. And I guess extension cords is another big one. We touched on a little bit with Christmas lights on the outside. You don't want to overload an outlet, but inside, people using extension cords all over the place.
Oh, absolutely, and I see them on job sites. I go to a lot of the job sites, and I see them all the time. I see them in people's homes. You don't want to be running extension cords through walls, through the attics, outside where they're going to be getting wet, and you don't want frayed cords again. I can't stress enough, people do this stuff all the time, and they get away with it. And then one day, they don't get away with it, and they're calling us. People typically call us on the worst day of their life, and and those structure fires, especially mobile homes and those things, they go up super fast. And protect yourself and your loved ones at your home. Protect your belongings. That should be a standard every day, that you really try to do that, and take your safety home with you. Make sure you do that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you talked about all the synthetic materials that are used in just everything in your living room, pretty much. I mean, if you just do a YouTube search, you can find that video of two homes, an older home furnished back in the 70s or 80s, and then a modern living room, and they light a Christmas tree on fire, maybe the corner of a couch, and the modern home goes up in flames, and then you have they talk about the material. It's just so quick. So we're
go ahead. I was going to say, I think you have less than 2 minutes to get out of your home in the middle of the night, and you probably won't be able to get your grandmother out or your kids out like you think you're gonna. You get that smoke disorient you really quick.
Yeah, and so I guess, just while we're talking about it, having that evacuation plan, making sure that's all ready to go and all that.
Absolutely, that is key. We teach that a lot. The evacuation plan, EDITH, we call it, exit drills in the home, just like the kids practice their fire drills at school. You have a meeting place where you have two ways out of your house. You get out to your meeting place. It could be the mailbox out front, the boulder, the end of the driveway. Wherever the natural approach of the fire department is going to be there. That way we can find out from the parents if the kids are out, or the kids might be out, the parents stuck in the home. They'll let us know that not everybody's accounted for.
Okay, perfect. Well, we're going to take our second break. Again, contact your local fire agency with any questions you may have regarding holiday safety or just anything. Cottonwood Fire Department can be reached at 928-634-2741. This is Countywide. We'll be back in a couple minutes.
Getting dumped by text is harsh. Try getting dumped by a tennis ball. My ex-owner drove me out to the woods, yelled fetch, and by the time I brought the ball back, he was gone. Yeah, I was pissed. But the folks at the shelter helped me let go of my anger. I learned coping skills, like taking it to the hole. Boom! Now I'm ready to fetch again. But how about I throw and you run and get it?
Dad's home!
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
Marie, you have prediabetes.
Prediabetes? I don't have time to eat right or exercise. I'm a busy mom.
Oh, you're a busy mom.
Yeah.
This is great news. Busy moms never get prediabetes.
Wait, what?
Let me just... Yeah, this is all the people at risk for prediabetes, and way over here, busy moms. No?
Welcome back to Countywide, talking holiday safety with the Cottonwood Fire Department. Fire Marshal Rick Contreras in here talking about this. We covered Thanksgiving, cooking safety. We covered Christmas with the lights, holiday lights, and your Christmas trees, extension cords. Just making sure you're aware of just safety.
Right.
And a lot of this stuff to some people may seem common sense, but at the same time, it's good to just remind people and also to have that escape plan. We also wanted to mention food drives going on across the area. We have the Turkey Drive, Flying High Turkey Drive on November 21st, and you guys are going to be out there in Cottonwood, right, for that?
Absolutely. It's like, I think my 11th year doing it, and we're going to have the ladder truck out there and get somebody going up the rungs as the turkeys come in. We have a great community. I know throughout northern Arizona, people are really good and generous. We're partnering with Yavapai Broadcasting, you guys, the Old Town Mission and Fry's Food Store, and it's a great program. It feeds a lot of people in the area.
Yeah, that's taking place the 21st here in Cottonwood and the Prescott area, Flagstaff as well. But just for people who might not be able to get out there or maybe are seeing this after the fact, food banks across the area are looking for donations for, especially around Thanksgiving. They're looking for side dishes just for your typical Thanksgiving meal. And then, of course, with Christmas, they're accepting donations as well for that. Real quick before we go, can you recap some of the main things, issues you see when you're talking about fires and the increase of fires during this time of year?
Yeah, so make sure all your heating appliances are in good working order. We're getting into our cold season now, and cooking fires, make sure you're prepared for what you're doing, whether it's frying a turkey out back or frying on the stove, oven. Don't leave fires unattended. Keep the kids away from matches, lighters, and the cooking area.
And fire extinguishers, right? We want to touch on that, make sure everyone has those, and then just, making sure you water that Christmas tree, and if it looks like it's starting to die, don't be afraid to get rid of it, right?
That's right.
So, okay, and again, as always, if you have any questions regarding just fire safety in general, if you need help with your evacuation plan or how to talk about that with your kids or just holiday safety, contact your local fire agency. Again, the Cottonwood Fire Department can be reached at 928-634-2286, and you guys have a lot of people over at your house for Thanksgiving?
Yes, a lot.
I'm sure that is one of the safest homes to be in.
Oh, yeah, well, I hope so. It'd be kind of embarrassing. I got to call the fire department again. The neighbor kid set my house on fire in '96, so I've been through it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not fun. Let me just tell you, both professionally and personally, I know what it's like.
Great. Well, we just want to make sure everyone's safe out there and have a good Thanksgiving, holiday season as well. And Rick, as always, thanks for being in here. And
Great to see you. Thank you for having me.
Well, that's going to do it for today's Countywide. Thanks for listening and watching. We'll talk to you next time.